And there is a second person that might be joining her. I believe Diane is her name. So if you see that pop up.
Okay.
Diane. Oh, geez, what was it? Sorry. Oh, shut up. Here. No, maybe not.
We are live.
We got about a minute yet, just in case people are tuning in. Okay, at 7 o'clock, we'll call the February 2nd meeting. It's February 2nd. Isn't it the 1st? Yes, February 1st meeting of the Lock Haven City Council order. Please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzordi.
Yes.
Councilmember Mincer.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes, here.
Mayor Long.
Here. Acceptance of a correction of the minutes from the January 18th regular meeting.
I move acceptance.
Second.
Second.
A motion on the floor and a second. Any further comments or questions on the motion?
Yeah, I have a comment. I think I made the motion for Councilman Conklin to be our appointment as the member to the negotiations or to talk to the authority, to the city authority, but it's not mentioned there on the minutes. It just says a member of council, but it is Councilman Conklin.
Okay, so we'll amend the motion to reflect that change, unless anyone wants to dispute that.
I don't remember who seconded the motion.
Casey can review the broadcast from last time.
Okay. Any further comments or questions on the motion? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzordi.
Yes.
Councilmember Mincer.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Public comments. We have downtown Rotary tonight.
Sue Faust has joined us, and she's here to make a request on behalf of Downtown Rotary.
Hi, Sue. Welcome. You're on mute, by the way, so if you want to speak, you'll have to take the mute off.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Would you like to hear from me now?
Yes, please. You're on the floor.
All right. My name is Sue Faust, as you said, and Diane Cleghorn may join us. We're going to be representing the Rotary Club of Downtown Lock Haven, and we're requesting approval and assistance to place 2 more Little Red libraries in city parks. We believe your staff has recommended Piper Hammond Park and the City Beach. We currently are maintaining Little Red libraries in Triangle Park, Oberman, Hammermill, and Hannah Parks.
I've seen them around. They look very nice. They're getting used quite a bit.
Yes, they are, and we're very proud of them. When I visit the parks to change out books, there are always children playing, and they come over to talk to me. I love it.
Nice.
That's good. Greg, who handles that? Casey handle that as far as the park?
Yes. Yep. Casey coordinates that with Downtown Rotary, and she will get members of the public property crew to assist in the installation.
Okay. What's the wish of council?
I'll move that we approve the motion, approve the addition of the downtown Lock Haven Rotary, putting their little libraries in Piper Harmon Park and then on the City Beach.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further questions or comments on the motion? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
yes,
Councilmember Mincer,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes, and an overwhelming thank you to Sue and the Downtown Rotary. It's a wonderful program.
Mayor
Thank
Long.
Yes, yes, as Steve said, that fantastic program. Thank you. Thank you for bringing something new and great to the city and for the kids.
Sue, I'm going to pop you back in the waiting room, and you're welcome to finish watching online.
Greg, may I also, we're hoping we'll be able to have two more events in Triangle Park. Our Flags of Honor over Memorial Day weekend and the 9/11 Angel Lights. Would this be an appropriate time to ask if you would allow us to use the park?
Sure.
Not inappropriate. Does anyone want to make a motion to grant that?
I'll move the request by Rotary for the use of Triangle Park for those 2 events, assuming it goes through our through Casey's office.
Second.
A motion floor and a second. I'm assuming by what you meant, Rick, that it meets whatever requirements are necessary. So,
Right, and the schedule. I haven't, I don't know if Casey's got anything else conflicting at this point, but I just want to double check. So.
okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. Does anyone have anything else to add? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
yes,
Councilmember Mincer,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes,
Mayor Long.
Yes, and provided all the conditions are met, Sue, you have your permission.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, Sue, I'm going to put you in the waiting room again unless you have a 5K that you want to ask for permission to do.
No,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you
All right, well,
much.
I'm glad you
Should-
guys are committing to do those events again. They're very great events.
Thank you, Greg.
All right. Thanks, Sue.
Take care. Okay, do we have any other correspondence?
I
Public
had none,
comment?
Your Honor.
Anyone? As usual, as I expressed to you, Greg, I had some complaints about snow removal today. But other than that, I don't have any other public comments. Correspondence, 5A, use of Piper Airport facilities.
This is the annual request from Sentimental Journey for the use of airport facilities, for the fly-in event itself, as well as the May 2nd pancake breakfast and the September 19th pancake breakfast. Those will be coordinated through the Office of Community Life, and those events, if approved by council, the letter back to them will explain that they need to be able to do those events while adhering to the state regulations in place for COVID-19 at the time.
So what's the wish of council?
I have a question before we move
Go ahead.
forward. I had someone ask me today, if events like this or planes coming in, if they rented one of the hangars, if that changed their hangar agreement in terms of their rental. And I said, I wouldn't think so if they had an agreement and a contract, but I just wanted to ask that question.
They're looking to sublet it?
No, they have a hangar rental right now. And if events like this come in, does that push their agreement out the window? That's what he was told.
Oh, okay.
By
So,
somebody on
all
the
right.
street.
So in other words, that we would try to shove somebody into their space.
Right, and he'd have to move his stuff.
Okay.
The only people that's true for is, in the interest of the betterment of the airport, people who are in hangar 1 in the common lease, which is basically in hangar 1, it's one large hangar, so we put numerous planes in there. So you just basically rent the size of your plane and they all get stored together. When we have an event in hangar 1 to benefit the airport, voluntarily everyone in hangar 1 always moves their plane out for that event. It also looks great because when people come down to the airport, then there are lots of planes lined up that look great, and people do fly in for the breakfast as well. But yeah, voluntarily people move their plane out, but it's just for the day for the event itself.
That wasn't the situation, so that's good to know then. Thank you, Greg.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Someone want to make a motion to grant the use?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion on the floor and a second. No further discussion, I assume. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
yes,
Councilmember Mincer,
Yes,
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes,
Your Honor, could we go back to Mr. Mintzer's question?
sure.
Councilmember Mintzer, is the question actually that somebody that you know that's renting a space is renting it not for aviation use, but for like storage?
correct.
In that scenario, if there were a waiting list of people that need aviation use, then at the end of his lease, he would lose that lease in favor of aviation use.
But it
But
would be,
in fact, if he's within the lease time,
He wouldn't lose it during the lease time.
right.
But we wouldn't be able to renew it if there were someone with a plane that wanted to rent the T hangar space. But we do have specific storage spaces that you cannot store airplanes in as well. But we do have T hangar spaces that we do permit for non-aviation use, things like boats or RVs to be parked in and rented. But under FAA rules, aviation use always takes precedent of an aviation purposed thing like a hangar. But right now, I believe we still have 2 vacant T hangar units right now. So it's not a threat, imminent threat, I would say. But it is a side effect there, yes.
but again, it's at the end of the conclusion of their lease, so.
Correct.
And they would be informed of that prior to signing the new lease out. Well, they wouldn't be allowed to sign a new lease.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, thank you.
Okay. So, 5A2, Use request by Downtown Lock Haven Inc.
I will turn it over to the Director of Community Life to make the presentation from Downtown Lock Haven Inc.
All right, so Downtown Lock Haven Inc. would like city permission for 2 of their 2021 events. These are events that happen every year. They did not happen last year, or the ones that did happened at a smaller scale. But this is for the Best of Clinton County Summer Festival and Parade on Saturday, June 26, 2021, from 10 to 3 p.m. This would be permission to have a banner hanging across Main Street for the month of June promoting the Best of Clinton County celebration. And then on the day, they are requesting permission to close Main Street as well as Vesper and Grove Streets for outdoor vendors and displays. And then following the celebration, they would like to have a parade down the Main Street as well. And then Haven Holidays and Small Business Saturday on November 27th, 2021 from 9 to 7 with the parade beginning at 6 p.m. This is to close Main Street just for the duration of the parade, to provide barricades for the road closure, as well as to have free parking during the day for Small Business Saturday. And I will work with them, on COVID regulations, getting their PennDOT permit, and anything that they may need for those 2 events.
One of the things we discussed, I think the mayor brought it up last year around the Christmas parade time, was to look at making sure there wasn't cars parked on Main Street during the parade, specifically for the winter one because of the exhaust. Do you remember that, Joel?
I do. It's been,
I didn't know if there was any plan. I think this is a great idea, but I just was curious if there was any plan and how to make that work, or if it was even possible.
we've done it before, Bill. We have restricted and not allowed people to park on Main Street during a parade. It's just a matter of making a decision and working with the chief to make sure it gets done.
Right, in your approval, just note that the street is closed to parking during the parade route times.
I'll move the approval for the request and note that the parade route should be closed for parking during the period of the parade.
Motion and a second. Thank you. Any further discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
yes,
Councilmember Mincer,
Yes,
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes,
Mayor Long.
Yes. Thank you.
Your Honor, I'll just add one more thing. One of the things that you approved as council was a banner across Main Street.
Mhm.
That, of course, requires a resolution for that banner, but Casey has a meeting with Downtown Lock Haven tomorrow. And so she'll find out what are the dates that they would like as well for the banner for Small Business Saturday. So we can get those on the agenda for the 15th for you to approve both those resolutions at the same time.
Thank you. 5B, 2020 unpaid real estate taxes.
The unpaid real estate taxes this year at penalty, or including the penalty for non-payment, is $264,930. At face, that's $240,852, or approximately a 91% collection rate. Last year, the city at face did have a 96% collection rate. In light of economic hardship that hit this year, DCED did put out a directive to anticipate as much as a 20% reduction. So we really only saw here in the city of Lock Haven a 5% reduction in the payment of real estate. And internally looking at the number of people who participated in the payment plan option, which was 184 property owners, I think that had a lot to do with the fact that the city did not see the non-payment to the extent that other municipalities have. And for that reason, under 7 new business, I have included for council's consideration an ordinance to provide the same installment payment plan, which we can discuss then under new business.
5C, use 2020 use of state liquid fuels allocation.
This is for council's information as well as for public information. This is the use of liquid fuels, which is the tax you pay at the pump that comes back to the city of Lock Haven. This is a detail of how the city spent that money over the previous year. That includes $27,000 for street cleaning and $32,000 for snow plowing and $8,000 for traffic signals, among other uses. And in all, the city this coming year has $689,000 in the liquid fuels fund in order to allocate, the vast majority of which is being used for phase 1 of the Sunset Pines Stormwater Project.
Okay. 5D, 2020 recycling data.
This is the annual notice from Wayne Township landfill that denotes the total tonnage that was collected by the landfill for curbside pickup and other commingled products at the curb for the city. And this year, well, 2020, the city had 350 tons picked up. Last year was 346. So it is a slight improvement over the previous year.
That's a good thing. We have any other correspondence?
I had none, Your Honor.
Unfinished business, 6A, review the draft for the comprehensive plan.
The much anticipated comprehensive plan draft is now available and will soon become available, hopefully tomorrow, to the public. And the city planner, Abby Roberts, is here to discuss that with council.
Hi, everyone. So I sent this out earlier this morning. It's the draft comprehensive plan, Destination Lock Haven, and it outlines everything that we've been working towards for the past year. The community engagement meetings are all detailed, as well as like existing conditions of the city's special studies, like the opportunity zone and housing study, and as well as action strategies. We're making this available for public comments, as well as council comments, planning commissions, staff, any of our organizations within the city, county government, and anyone who wants to take a look at the plan, know what we're working towards, and if they have any comments. This is just a draft, so that is why we're asking for comments. If we really messed anything up, which hopefully not, please let us know. I'll be accepting comments until February 11th. At that time, I'll report back to the plan consultants, and we'll make those changes and reflect them before council adopts the plan on March 15th, the final plan. If you would like to submit any comments, you can do so through email. Casey and I are going to make a post tomorrow on Facebook. We're also going to post it on the city's website. And I'm going to encourage any of our the city's organizations to share that post and get the word out as much as possible. But that will include my email address, which is just aroberts@lockhavenpa.gov. So anyone who has any comments, like I said, just shoot me an email and it will be passed on to the consultants. As next steps, as I said, comments are due by February 11th. There will be a public hearing on March 15th at 6:30. It will be a Zoom platform like this one, but it's the last opportunity for public comments. And then following that public hearing at council's regular meeting on the 15th, you will adopt the final plan. Most people will think, well, why are we having a public meeting 30 minutes before? You can't make any changes. But when council adopts it, it's not set in stone. We can still make those changes, and it will be reflected in the final document. And that is all I have. If anyone has any questions, I don't know if you had time to review it or not, but it looks pretty good to me. I'm excited to have it out there and get feedback.
Abby, thank you for all your hard work. I know you were the only staff member working on this, but it really is important. Greg and I just did an interview with the Express last Friday about goals going forward, and that's pretty much based on what was brought up in the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Anyone have questions for Abby?
No, just a comment. I echo what you said. It's very detailed, like way more detailed than I expected it to be, I guess. Maybe I was expecting a little bit less, but very detailed. Lots of good information in there.
There are a lot of goals in it, and we'll be reviewing internally as well the goals and see what smart objectives we can build to achieve some of those goals. And that's the important thing, is that we somehow have, you know, specific and measurable objectives to help us as a community achieve the goals that the residents here have set out that they would like to see accomplished.
Any other comments or questions?
So if you send me a document and you say it's not necessary to read this by tonight's meeting, what's the first thing I'm going to do?
You're going to read it.
Read all 141 pages.
All 136 pages of it, and on page 91, I got to the action plan.
That's how I wanted it.
But
I'd also like to turn this back on council. Thank you for all your participation, all of the people who showed up at public meetings, organizations that were involved. It wasn't how we wanted it. We really wanted to have the face-to-face meetings, but everyone made it work and showed up, and it's just great.
Sounds good. Anything else? Thank you, Abby. I really appreciate it. 6B, consideration of a motion directing the mayor to sign the agreement.
I don't know what PennDOT wants. So I feel like this is the fourth time, but it's technically only the third time that council is approving having the mayor sign the agreement between the city and PennDOT for the utility relocation cost sharing project, where PennDOT's paying 75% and the city's paying 25%. And I know it seems like you're doing this all over again, but yes, you are doing this all over again so that the mayor can sign the document tomorrow and then we can send it in. Even though last time you directed the mayor to sign the document, he needs to be directed the day before he signs the document as well, I guess. So
I'll make a motion to direct the mayor to sign the document again.
Second.
Motion floor and second. Any questions or comments on that motion? Steve, no disparaging remarks, nothing?
I'm holding my tongue.
I was just going to say PennDOT didn't run like this when Steve was there.
You got that right. Should ask for a 5% reduction for every time they make us redo it.
I wasn't thinking disparaging remarks against PennDOT. I figure you had a few for me. Okay, call for the vote. Casey, you're on mute.
Yep, the space bar wasn't working. Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzordi.
Yes.
Councilmember Mincer.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Any other unfinished business, Greg?
I had none, Your Honor.
Okay. 7, new business. 7A, consideration of the annual community development block grant resolution.
These are the two resolutions that are annually adopted by council. One is fair housing and one is section 504, which means Americans with Disabilities Act compliance. And I'll let the Director of Community Life speak to these a little bit. Or not Community Life, sorry. The city planner speak to these.
We knew what you meant. Yeah, so these are resolutions that are adopted annually for the Community Development Block Grant Program. You've seen them last year, but the fair housing is just making sure the city commits to not discriminating in any of their programs. And as Greg said, the section 504 is for ADA compliance and making sure all of our city-owned buildings are accessible. I am the compliance officer for the section 504, which was decided last year, so nothing has changed. And we use the state office for our fair housing complaint reports, but any accommodations, if you need any accommodations for public meetings or any accessibility to buildings, you can contact City Hall, and our information is listed in the resolution and of course made public. And that is it. Just two.
Do we want to move these both at the same time? Does there anyone have any issue with that? Do I have a motion to do so?
Move the fair housing resolution and section 504 resolution.
Oh, I'll second it then.
All right. You have a motion on the floor in a second. Any further discussion?
I just was thinking of the days when Ted Forbes sat with us and every year would question the discrimination based on religion, and he would comment, "Well, what if they have no religion?" He wanted to make a separate line item for that. But so I missed Ted, but no other comments.
I knew I'd forgotten something.
All right. Let's go to the vote.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazordi,
Yes.
Councilmember Mincer,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 7B, consideration of ordinance number 2021-01.
This is an ordinance that would provide, once again, for installment payments for the 2021 real estate tax, like council provided for the 2020 real estate tax. Under this, they would be 4 payments. The first would be due 25% by the last day of the discount period. The next 25% 60 days after that, 60 days after that, 25% more. And by 180 days by the end of discount, the balance would be due. We did have 184 properties take advantage of this last year. It does, in the ordinance, contain the option that if someone fails to keep up with the plan, then they default back to the original face and penalty periods. And also that if someone decides not to take advantage of that, they of course can still take the discount period. But it does provide that in installment plan, you are making your installments at face, so it does save you the penalty.
Did we get any defaults last year, Greg?
We didn't. Everyone who entered it according to Berkheimer ended it.
Good. Do many of our fellow cities adopt this practice? Do we know?
I wouldn't say that it's frequent, but you do not need to be in a state of emergency to adopt this. You can adopt this every year if council so desires.
I think it's a good program. The only quibble I would have, and it wouldn't be me if I didn't quibble, is that if you miss the second installment, then the rules of face don't apply because you're automatically into penalty, aren't you?
Yes, penalty would start at the end of 61 days.
Okay. Well, I would move adoption.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a second. Thank you. Yeah, I think it was a good idea, especially with everything going on, and I think it's very worthy to continue on this year. COVID trickling over, especially. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Mincer,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 7C, consideration of resolution number 2021-003.
This is for council's consideration, the collective bargaining agreement with the Lock Haven Police Officers Association, which is the local union representing our city police force, excuse me, is set to expire on the last day of this year. The Police Officers Association asked that because of last year with the pandemic and the amount of time that limited for them to discuss collective bargaining issues internally, if the city would be interested in postponing the expiration of that by providing a one-year extension through December 31st, 2022, and under what terms and conditions that extension could be provided. So 2 options were provided to the Police Officers Association. The one would be a pay raise that would be equivalent of what non-union staff were provided this year, which is the 3-year average of cost of living increase under Social Security. In this case, it would be the 2020, 2021, and 2022, which is released in October. Or if that is less than 2%, then a 2% wage increase, and that all other provisions of the agreement would remain in place. It also comes with the caveat that the Police Officers Association is interested in bargaining this year and would like to take the opportunity to do that this year and next year with the council appointed committee, but provide a little more time to accomplish that goal as we come out of the pandemic. I would recommend to council that the one-year extension be provided so long as collective bargaining does actually take place this year. Or begin this year.
What's the wish of council?
Move the resolution.
A second.
Motion floor in a second. Greg and I did discuss this since I'm one of the ones on the bargaining team. I do think that it's, with everything going on, our attentions were all kinds of places over this past year. I've kind of looked at a lot of things throughout this year as being a mulligan. And I think that's kind of where we're at with this as well. So any other discussion on the issue? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Mincer,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Oh, any other new business?
I have none, Your Honor.
Does anyone else have anything to bring before council?
Oh, a couple of things quickly. Thinking about the downtown Lock Haven request, it occurred to me that if we are minded this summer to adopt the practice again of closing Main Street on the weekend, we might want to enter into those discussions with downtown Lock Haven fairly soon, so that if there are members of that organization that are not of one mind with us, we can get those issues resolved rather than adopting a plan and then having to listen to people criticize it. Just a thought.
I don't disagree with you, Richard, but I would say that you've been on council long enough to know that you're going to hear from the people one way or another, but you're right to say we should start talking about it now.
Downtown Lock Haven did do already a survey to downtown business owners and has compiled the results of that survey. And it's my understanding tomorrow at their regular meeting at 8:30 in the morning, they will finalize their decision on their request to council for the pedestrian mall, and how they, as an organization, would like to see that happen in the 2021 season.
Good.
If at all.
Anything else, Richard?
This Friday, I think President Pignatello leaves Lockhaven University to go and do whatever it is the Chancellor of Pashi wants him to do. And I think it would be a shame for that departure to take place without us acknowledging the contribution that President Pignatello made in the time that he was here. Not only was it, I think, a remarkable contribution, but there was also, I think, a lot of unfulfilled potential. One, because we ran into the headwind of COVID, and then to the fact that he's being called to do other things. And I just think we should recognize the contribution he made while he was here.
I agree 100%, Richard, especially on the unfulfilled potential. I think it's probably the most disappointing thing about the proposed integration. We can call it proposed all we want, but it's happening. We know that. I really don't think that they took all that into consideration and looking at this. And he'll be greatly missed, not just by the university, but by the community. He really, honestly, it's in the 22 years that I've served, probably the best town-gown relationship I think we've had in my time. It's a shame to see it change. I hope that they can find a way to continue it, but it's hard to replace that person when they're the ones that really spurred it on.
Joel, the concert committee can invite him back still to do a performance for us.
He and I have spoken about coming back for return engagements. Just at the Broken Axe with the acoustic guitar,
Yeah. He owes us one, doesn't he?
So,
He does.
Well, like everyone is saying, we have had town gown organization for years and years and years, and we have talked to each other and coordinated things. But there's a difference between that and what President Pignatello brought to this community and the direction that he led the university. It's just such a different feeling when the president himself becomes an integrated part of the community.
Yeah.
And although there is not a literal wall around the university, sometimes it feels like there is. And even though it's wholly within the city limits, he actually made it feel much more like that to the students and also to the residents of this community. And that's what, as a community, we're always looking for. And that should absolutely be applauded, because that starts with him and his attitude towards the town, and very much appreciated for the very short time that he was here. And like everyone here has said, just missed potential that he's leaving is kind of the remorseful feeling.
And I think, if memory serves, Donna Wilson, the previous provost, is also at the Pashi office. So
He is.
okay, Lockhaven, I think, has a pretty good seat at the table.
Yes.
anything else?
I have nothing.
Just, Greg, I know you and I talked about it earlier, but I just received another message. Richard, you live in Sunset Pines, about complaints about winter maintenance and it being hard to get out of the hill. So I'm not, we talked about it. I know the guys are out busting their tails, but just wanted to touch on it with you, and I don't know if we can, what we can do about it.
Well, Our city crews work extremely hard in extremely challenging conditions, and there are certain laws of physics that you cannot dispute. And the fact is that Hill Street is almost like climbing up a brick wall. It has always been icy and treacherous in the winter. It doesn't even have to snow for it to be that way. If you want to build a city with hills like that in it, you have to put up with the consequences. It's like people. It's like people who argue about the fact that, well, they plowed the street and they put all the snow in my driveway. Well, you try and push snow without doing that.
That is the problem, is that we don't melt the snow, we just push it.
Yeah.
It does go somewhere else out of the road, but it will be somewhere else, which could be your sidewalk or your driveway. And we did have 4 members of the crew come in and work 16 hours starting when the snow first fell, and they ended at 11:30 last night. Then a second crew came in and worked 16 hours. After the first crew was off for 10 hours, they came back and they're working another 16 hours. The city doesn't have a kind of never-ending staff of people and trucks. And we definitely have 3 main plows that do get out. One was purposefully purchased, the Ford F550, two plow in Sunset Pines, because the 2 largest trucks don't fit in Sunset Pines. But they definitely are out. They are plowing. It is an unusual storm in that it just keeps snowing. So as soon as you plow, a few hours later, it looks like no one ever plowed. And so they are around. They are still plowing. They are doing their best. We could definitely add probably twice as many people and twice as many trucks, and we'd be able to do twice the job we currently do with snow removal. And I don't mind doing that as long as council approves that budget. And all it takes is doubling the entire staff of Public Works and equipment of Public Works, and we could absolutely accomplish that goal.
And I will
Even
still
shovel your sidewalks for you if you do that. So.
Not to prolong the meeting unduly, but at one time I lived in a house that was the first house in Addison Township. It was right in the dip where Luscron Road turns into Hill Street.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it snowed, the city plow would come down the hill and turn into my driveway with its blade down and reverse and go away. Shortly after that, the PennDOT truck would come down the other way to the limit of its territory and with its blade down turn into my driveway and then go away. So I wound up with this mountain of snow, and neither plowing organization would ever agree to actually remove the snow that they dumped in my driveway. But
yeah, we had a nice meeting. We had a nice meeting a few years ago with Allison Township, which Bald Eagle takes care of the one particular street that we met about, which is Glen Road. But that line, where do you stop? Because the city's line and Allison's line is not actually at an intersection. It's in the middle of a street. So we had a nice meeting on where's an amicable place to stop, but there are places that it turns out to be someone's driveway, and if you are that person, it can be an unenviable location to be in.
Well, I guess it's always easier to criticize than to think of an alternative plan. But,
Steve, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that if you hadn't seen that, the River Valley Transit has started their bus service on Fridays and Saturdays only. So I'd encourage people to park and take the bus. And it's making loops around, and hopefully it's a sign of better things to come.
Yeah, what was the reason for the change in that decision? I think it's great. I just was wondering what the reason was for the change.
The PennDOT pooled its funding because they were broke because of the tax revenue not coming in, and that we were at the end of our 3rd year of the trial basis where they supplemented the costs for the River Valley Transit, and the funds were used up, and that ended. River Valley Transit is doing this on their own without any additional funding, just on Friday and Saturday. So hopefully in the new budget process, we might be able to justify something in the future, but that's unknown yet.
That's awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
The champion adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Good night.